Hey, good morning. Chuck here with Apple Drains. I thought I'd post a few videos, older videos. There's hundreds of them about cutting curbs, coring the curb, pop-ups versus curbs, drilling the hole, so you can really understand why it's important to drill or V-cut your curb. And yes, you do need to pull a permit. I don't show you that process, but you do need a permit. And the reason that you need a permit is because so many small companies and homeowners as well come out, they take a big 6 or 9 pound sledge and they whack at that curb and they break it all up. And of course the city does not like this at all. But if you do it right, you'll have no problem. A permit usually runs between $25 and $50. I saw some comment said $500 for a permit. Maybe that's true, but that's pretty extreme. The city wants you to be able to solve problems. Permits are not a big deal. You just have to go downtown and pull them. But take a look. I've got hundreds of videos on how to cut the curb. We do it every day. We'd also put pop-ups in. It really depends on your application. But putting the pop-up in is very important. If you're going to do that, place it in the proper spot. Usually people put it, behind the sidewalk before it gets to the curb. And water will just flood your sidewalk. People talk about freezing. My gosh, that water floods across your walk constantly. But yeah, sometimes you do have to do that. It's all good. There's tons of information out there. Everybody's doing a great job. All these companies are putting videos up there now, and thank you, Google. Luckily, maybe I've started before everybody, and I have 600 or 700 videos up there. But wow, there's a lot of information out there, and you're welcome to pick apart my videos. I think that's great stuff. I kind of want to say sometimes is, hey, is that what you got out of that video? But it's all good. Hey, take a look at these things. Hopefully they help you out. This is a long video. I basically just picked out a dozen or so curb cuts and curb holes so you could take a look. I hope you enjoy it. Okay, so some of the problems with a pop-up, you can see here's the water, and basically it works great. We're running water through here. You can see there's the pop-up lid. But you lose fall, and as we come back here to the back, you can see a very level line. So what we're going to do is what we always suggest and recommend is we're going to drill a curb hole through the curb. And you can kind of see we're going to gain about 6 inches of fall from here up to the pop-up. So the first thing you do is you go ahead and cut your sod off. We're going to excavate this area, and then we'll set up our Bosch hammer drill, and we'll go ahead and core that curb. Okay, take a little break here so you can see how clean of a hole a hammer drill with a diamond core bit can make. Really nice. We're about halfway through and we just need to keep on going. This is a pretty wide curb. It's about 6.5 inches. This takes probably about an hour altogether, and it is a little bit demanding. You got to keep pushing on the hammer drill, but what a neat tool. Diamond core bits. And you can see the grooves to help pull the debris out, the waste. This is the concrete it's pulling out. And it just goes right through there like butter. Well, you know what I mean. So we just popped through. You can see that water coming out and dropping over here as well. Yeah, we're all the way through it. So let's go ahead and pull our our hammer drill out. And you can see that water just pour out of there. So we've gained about 3 inches of fall by putting a curb hole in. Next, we'll go ahead and take this pop-up off. Remember, the pop-up, you can see it. It's a 90-degree turn, and you lose 4 inches of fall immediately. So if you've got a really level yard, like this one, and the drains are set around behind the corner there. I mean, they're down a foot from this little rise we see. That line is so level as it comes out, you really need to come out through to the curb. So I've taken off the old pop-up, and you can see, I mean, what a difference it makes to have a hole through your curb to bring it down just 3 or 4 inches. I mean, the water just pours out of here. And whereas before, half the line was filled with water, now that line is completely empty and draining all the way out to the curb. Okay, so we've secured our insert into the ADS, and you can see it comes right out into the curb. If you look through there, it's dark in there, but somewhere in there, there's the insert. Let's go ahead and cover this up, and we're done. Okay, so here's the curb hole. Beautiful little 3.5-inch curb hole. It's going to accept that 4-inch pipe. It just reduces a little bit. Doesn't hurt the flow at all. And remember, there used to be a pop-up over there, all gone. Now it comes out through the curb hole, and what a difference it made. I mean, the line is completely dry when you run water in it. It does not fill up halfways, doesn't fill up a quarter of the ways. It comes straight out here to the street. Realize that you'll never beat Mother Nature, but wow, what a difference.
When using a pop-up emitter for your discharge of the line, placement is critical. Look at the mess that was created from using a pop-up emitter in the wrong place. It was placed just before the sidewalk. Granted, this line is also gravel perforated pipe, a French drain, and therefore the water just lays in the line and it leaches back out through the holes in the pipe. It's working backwards. The problem is that we need to go through that sidewalk and out to the curb. Ideally, we like to cut the walk and place the pipe under there. Also, we like to core through the curb, but in this subdivision, they won't allow that. So you have to use a pop-up. The pop-up needs to be placed at the curb for proper drainage. So let's take a look at what needs to be done to tunnel a sidewalk.
Hey, good afternoon. Chuck here with Apple Drains, Charlotte, North Carolina. Actually, we're in a small suburb called Waxhaw. And what we're doing is, they've got a horrible mess there, but we need to get underneath this sidewalk. And you can see that it's just been flooding all through here, made it just such a mud pie.
The reason there is such a muddy mess is because the pop-up was placed just before the sidewalk. That water had to back up through the line, and because it's gravel perforated pipe, the water leached back out. It worked backwards. We've got to get through that sidewalk. In this HOA, the Homeowners Association, they do not want to cut the walk and they do not want to core the curb. So we've got to tunnel the walk and put the pop-up out at the street.
So if you look carefully, hopefully you can see it under there. We're about halfway through and about a third of the way through on the other side. So we're pretty close to getting underneath of here. We just need to keep on going. So about the best way to tunnel that I know of is to dig yourself the trench. Then you can take your small spade shovel, and what you're doing is you're scraping at the top of the sidewalk down and push down, pry down, and then come back and pull out the dirt. Takes a little bit of effort, but once you get into it, you got it. Oh yeah. Then you just pull out, even if it's just a little bit like that. That's great. Take some from the bottom. Again, it doesn't come out in big pieces, but it does come out. Twist your shovel, pull out your debris. Again, you can see it's not a lot, but it does come out. You can see we've got a nice hole through there. We just need to widen it up and we'll be able to push our pipe right underneath here. So you can see our pipe is going underneath, comes out here on the other side. Now we're just going to go ahead and hook it up to the existing drain pipe right here. So basically we're going to go from corrugated pipe to solid PVC. So we've got a small piece of 4-inch corrugated. It has a bell on it to hook on, and we have an adapter that will hook onto the PVC, and then PVC out. This adapter slides into the PVC and it just locks in place. Then this piece of corrugated snaps on to that adapter, just like that. Then we can slide it forwards. Now we can just connect our pipe together. Make sure it's together on the coupling, and it is. Now we're going on the other side and continue our PVC out to the pop-up. We're using their old pop-up. Even though it's all dirty, it still works great. Pop-up has an emitter that, as water comes down the line, pushes it up, lets the water out. Basically, it's just a 90-degree elbow. We're going to cut that to length right here at the curb. A rather muddy, slippery spot. Mud is slippery, that's for sure. I'm just going to pound this on here. Watch your eyes. Oh yeah, that's on there. Put our emitter back on there. Now we're just going to make one more connection. We'll be ready to cover it up. So yeah, pretty muddy, but we've got it installed. You can see the pop-up works great. Let that area dry, and it should settle.
Hey, good morning. Chuck here with Apple Drains in Charlotte, North Carolina. This morning we are going to break out a sidewalk. You can see we've already made the cuts. Next we're going to remove this concrete. Notice how easy this concrete breaks. If you make good cuts, pry bar will take it out. You just hit it until it weakens, pry it loose, and pull it out. Let's look at that again. Just one hit with the pry bar, and you can see that the concrete separates. Then you just pry it out, pull out the piece of concrete. The secret to this is to make deep cuts all the way through the concrete. When you do that, the concrete will crack and break very easily. Continue this until you pull out all the concrete. Okay, we've removed all of the concrete from the section of sidewalk, and we'll take a look at that. You can see it's all done. We've got quite a mess there because we had to use water to use our concrete saw. But next we're going to core this curb, and this is a diamond bit core, and basically we're just going to bore right through this. This takes about 20 minutes, and we're going to get this done for you in about a minute because we're going to speed up the video.
Every now and then you have to pull your core out to clean out the core because it fills up with concrete, and you can see us kind of breaking it out there, letting it fall out. We'll go right back into it. He's almost ready to pop through. Once we open this up, then we'll be ready to lay pipe and put our cement back. There he goes right through the concrete. We'll pull out the concrete bore, the core, and you can see this great big core that gets stuck in there. We just pull that out and we're all done. Here's our concrete hole, curb hole right through the concrete, and we're ready to lay pipe. So lastly, we're going to go ahead and make a V cut in this curb, and we've come to an expansion. The expansion's right here. We'll use that for part of our V. So let's go ahead and fire up the saw if we have enough fuel. This is going to get dusty. Now we're just going to pop this loose. There's one piece. Trying to do this with one hand to show you how easy it really is. Pull our pieces right out. And we'll clean this out. I just need to use both hands. So you can see our V cut right into the curb, brings it out. We're just going to set our pipe right here, and we're just going to cut a little bit into the curb, so we'll cut it right here. You'll notice that I kind of taper it just a little bit to help it get out here, and what we don't want is water come down this hill and come back into our system. But there you have it, little V cut. Pipe comes down. Just how important is a curb hole? Here we're at a commercial building, and you can see that there is sill plate rot, tremendous amounts of damage, and this is caused from the lack of downspout drains coming from the downspout out to the curb. Water has been getting trapped between the building and the curb. So what we need to do is drill some curb holes and put some downspout drains in. So here we're drilling the curb hole. We've slowed it down here just a second so you can see it pop through here. This is a hammer drill with a 3 1/8 inch bit, and you can see it pops right through there. It takes about 20 minutes to drill through a curb. Here comes the diamond bit core blade. You can see it pop right through there. Remember, it hammers and it drills at the same time. What a great tool. Curb holes are so important. They will help save thousands of dollars on structural damage when a downspout drain is attached and sent through the curb to take that roof water away from the building. So out here at the curb, we're going to go ahead and make a small V-cut. Notice that you can see the expansion in the curb right there where they've already cut the concrete so that if it freezes or whatever it can not crack. We'll use that as one side of the V, and then we'll make just wide enough for that pipe and let that water come straight out to the street.
You're going to be making 3 cuts in the concrete. The first cut is the angle that will make the triangle that you're going to put in. The second cut will be right on the expansion. And then you need a third cut right in the center so that when you use your pry bar, it'll just pop right out of there. And the reason that we're cutting the curb here is because it's a half-round curb. If you live here in the South, you're very used to this type of curb. We like to bring the water all the way out to the street so it can discharge into the curb and down into the storm drain where it belongs.
So now if you've made your cuts properly, you should be able to take your pry bar and just hit it a couple times inside these cracks and pop it right out of there. There's your first piece, and there's your second piece. Let me bring the camera over here. You can see what it looks like. You can see a perfectly cut V. That pipe will go right there to the end. We'll just clean it out, and that water will come right out here to the street. A little bit of cleanup in there inside the V, but not much. Hey, good morning. Chuck here with Apple Drains. Today we're going to drill through an asphalt curb.
I'm using a Bosch hammer drill with a diamond core bit that is going to be drilling through this asphalt curb. And it's really just as hard as concrete. Rather than saw cut the curb, we like to put a curb hole in there because water comes down the street pretty fast. And rather than saw cut it, if you saw cut it, that water could come back and run back into your trench or into your pipe. So if you put a curb hole out here, it's a little bit higher than the street, and it helps a lot to keep that water from backing up into your new line that you just put in. So I've speeded up the video quite a bit here to get through so you can just see. Use the pry bar because it is asphalt. It's kind of sticky, and it really gets kind of gunked up inside of our core, but it's not a problem. And you can see here we're coming through the other side. Pops right through. We'll have a nice clean hole right here.
So there we have a nice curb hole in the asphalt. We'll bring our pipe right up and come right through this hole with a little piece of PVC. So there we've got our 3-inch coming out. Comes out through the curb hole, and we're ready to finish covering up.
Hey, good morning. Chuck here with Apple Drains. You know, a curb hole is an essential part of any rainwater drainage system. In order for the water to flow correctly out to the street, we prefer to put a curb hole in rather than use a pop-up. So if you're going to put a curb hole in, you can easily go and rent one of these Bosch hammer drills and the diamond core bit. We're using a 4-inch bit, and you've got to have a good diamond core bit in order to get through that curb. And in order to pound that bit, that rotary bit down through the curb, you've got to use a hammer drill, and it has to be a big one. These machines rent for about $50 to $60, and usually the rental place will go ahead and include the bit. It takes about 30-40 minutes to drill through a solid concrete curb, but it is well worth it, and the aesthetic value is second to none.
Hey, this is Chuck with Apple Drains, reminding you that if you believe you can do something, I guarantee you can do it. Have a great day. Hey, good morning. Chuck here with Apple Drains. We're here on day 4, the final day of this job. Remember, this was the crawl space, a real muddy crawl space. And then we put the sump pump in, the footer tiles. We've also done the downspout drains, so send them out to the street. Okay, so we got the area marked. You can see the yellow markings out here. The locator was just here, so we're able to go ahead and start trenching. What we're doing is we're going to come right out here to this expansion on the curb. This is where we're going to make our little V cut. So we have to hand dig across this area to where I've started to trench because there's water lines in there.
You know, if you're going to trench more than 50 or 60 feet by yourself, I strongly suggest that you go rent a trencher. It's not that expensive. Lots of tool rentals, 4 hours, $50, $60, and wow, you will enjoy using the trencher. Not only will it quickly and easily dig down a couple of feet, it'll cut tree roots, it'll pulverize the soil and set it off to the side, making it very easy for you to put it back in the trench.
So even though the trencher does lift up the dirt and set it on the side, we still got to go back through with the little, we call it a spade shovel, a spoon. And we clean that out, get it down to the very bottom of that trench. Takes a little bit, not too bad. So here by the corner of the house, we're going to dig our laterals. A lot of tree roots here, but we'll get right through there, hook it up here, put a T on it. Chuck's over here where the cable wire is, and he's just going underneath of it. You can see that cable wire right there. Luckily we haven't cut anything here, which is always good. That's why you get things marked. And you can see that locator came out here and he did a great job, right on the money. You got to trust the locators, especially since it's the law. So out here at the curb, we're going to go ahead and make a small V cut. Notice that you can see the expansion in the curb right there where they've already cut the concrete so that if it freezes or whatever, it can not crack. We'll use that as one side of the V, and then we'll make just wide enough for that pipe and let that water come straight out to the street.
A concrete saw can also be rented from your local tool supply. Pretty cheap, $40, maybe $50 for the 4-hour day, kind of like the trencher. But you know, a concrete saw is actually a really good addition to the homeowner's tool collection. You will find so many uses for this: cutting brick, cutting tile, cutting concrete. It is a great investment. Usually you can find one used for maybe $200 or $300, new about $800. But look how quickly and easily it cuts this concrete. It's like butter. And within just a few minutes, you've got your concrete cut.
So now if you've made your cuts properly, you should be able to take your pry bar and just hit it a couple times inside these cracks and pop it right out of there. There's your first piece, and there's your second piece. Let me bring the camera over here. You can see what it looks like. You can see a perfectly cut V. That pipe will go right there to the end. We'll just clean it out, and that water will come right out here to the street. A little bit of cleanup in there inside the V, but not much. We've already got this started here. We've got our pipe installed, and we've started to cover right here at the corner, right by Murphy. That's Murphy right there. She's been helping. So we've got downspout drain trenched. Gerald's covering it up. You can see it's all covered up. We'll take some of that soil away. Same thing over here. Downspout ties in. We found an old cable wire here, so we had to double check that with the homeowner and make sure that was working. You can see the splices, AT&T repair, typical AT&T repair, but that's an old wire, so it's obsolete. Line comes around, picks up a downspout here. We've added a catch basin over here to help pick up some of the surface water right here. And then our line continues on down. We've got about 300 feet of pipe here that's being put in. And here's our T for the sump pump. Comes over, and you can see where the sump pump came out of the wall where we cored it on the first day. Brought that PVC out through the foundation wall, comes out. The connection that we use over here is 1.5 inch PVC. We've got a bushing down there, 1.5 to 3 inch. Then we put a no hub on there, and we screw that down tight so that it holds on to the corrugated pipe. More than enough for that water to come right down through here. We've got our connections made here, and downspout at the front porch, downspout here at the side, line comes over. Now we're ready to lay this section from here where they went through the tree roots. This was a real tough spot, but looks like Chuck made real quick work of that. And Terry really chopped a bunch of these big roots. Terry's a new guy on the job. We'll show you him in a second. But you can see these roots that were here, giant roots. He did a nice job getting them through there. So we'll make this last connection, then we'll start covering it up. Corrugated pipe is pretty easy to put together. It just snaps into the T. Get that root out of there. Just snaps into the T. You hear it click and you know you're in there. That's it. Now we just push it down through the trench and make sure we're at the bottom of the trench because there's a lot of roots there. And you just step it. Step it down. Yep, it's looking good. We got good fall going all the way through that really rooty section. That's a tough section right there. Terry and Chuck, they did a great job right there. Really great job. Bring that all the way down. We've already got a little bit of pipe laid down here. We'll make that connection and then we'll cover it up. Okay, so we're covering up the line here, and we've got a new man on the crew. This is Terry. He's out here, he's doing a great job. Terry cut most of those tree roots I was telling you about earlier this morning, and if you saw those, they're the size of your leg. That's the size of your thigh. That is one tough little spot. We put him in there. He did a great job. So we're raking this up. We mounded up on the trench. You can see it all mounded up. And then we're going to come back and we'll shovel it away. Some people say, why do you put it all on the trench? But it's because it's so much easier to come back with a shovel and throw it in a wheelbarrow. Then we're going to run it all the way back to a low spot in the back of this lot. So in about 20 or 30 minutes this will all be covered. Take a little break, and then we start moving soil to the rear. Hey, this is Chuck with Apple Drains, reminding you that if you believe you can do something, I guarantee you can do it. Have a great day.